Hey, I'm Carissa Martos, and this video is about how classrooms are set up. What do they actually look like? How do they function? What does behavior management look like? Those sorts of things. And there's a couple pieces. The first one is its physical layout. The second one is what are your everyday routines? The third one is about safety. The fourth one is about rules. The fifth one is about a behavior management plan. And the sixth one is positive reinforcement. So what does that classroom look like? If you're a teacher yourself, you've probably, in a general ed or a hearing classroom, experienced one of two variations. The teacher's up front, and then there are rows of desks where the students are all seated, or there's small groupings of tables, and then the teacher is up front. That is not what it looks like in a deaf-friendly classroom. There's a concept called universal design, and it means that the goal is to provide as much access to everyone as possible in the classroom, office space, general space. Here's an example. If you're designing a building and you know as you're drawing it that you only have one option you can choose, and you can only afford to either have a ramp to the front door or stairs up to the front door. Which one do you choose? Universal design would suggest that you pick the ramp. And you do that because people who can walk up the ramp. But people who use wheelchairs or moms with babies in strollers or anybody else can also use the ramp. It means you've set it up for everyone to be successful. It's the same idea in this classroom. For me, it tends to look like, here's a picture. Sort of like that. That's from an article that isn't in English, but the explanation is simple. It says the teacher is here and the interpreter is here, and you don't always necessarily have an interpreter, but for many classes you will, especially those that are subject classes like English or math. They'll tend to have an interpreter. In my experience, if you have deaf and hearing students that are mixed, you'll have an interpreter. So teachers here, interpreters here, and then students are sat around in this U. And the reason that that happens is everyone can see the door. All students can see it. All students can see the teacher. All students can see the interpreter, and the interpreter can see them, which means that they can either sign for those speaking or voice for those signing. The teacher can keep an eye on all the students at the same time, hearing or deaf, and that doesn't really matter for me. This functions the best. And if you've got the students seated that way, it means if you're going to do small group work, you end up having to turn one chair here out of every three, and now they have small groups of 2 or 3. It's an easier change to make. They also can see the board, and it's a win for everyone. For everyday routines and what they look like, it's going to be very different depending on students and the class. But my favorite one a few years back was a classroom that was on a block schedule. So we had an extended period of class, but it didn't happen every day. It was language arts and history in one class. The first 2 or 3 minutes, students would be coming in, finding their seats, setting up their water bottles and whatever. And then the next part on the board, I would have the prompt, both written and a signed version, so they could see what they were writing about. And so they would do that for the next 8 minutes. They would write or sign. I'll go more in depth about the rules part of that, but if they were signing it, that meant they had a tablet and they would use it and they would sign and do their video, and it was great, but there was no internet connection. And then they could make it, they could get finished with it, they'd lock their account, And then when I went back to it, I could open it, look, watch it, grade it, but you didn't need to have an internet connection because of the safety issue. Third, we had about 7 minutes where we would share. And sometimes it would be in a whole group, or it would be in the smaller groups, depending on the day. Oh, what did you write? Okay, thank you. What did you sign? Oh, great, thank you. And kids would volunteer and we'd ask. Next was my favorite part. Ooh, story time, which meant, all right, now I'm going to tell you a story here. This is my favorite part of the day. We get to do little fun story times. And this is a long example, but it is, I think, a really good example. All right, kiddos, it's 20 minutes of story time, my favorite, right? Okay. So you guys have all seen my family pictures. Yeah? There's me, there's my kid's dad, who's real tall. Yeah? Okay. And then you see how white I am. And he's darker? Okay. So, his family is from all kinds of places, but genetically, mostly Italy. All right? My family is a mix of, white, but mostly Scottish. So the two of us got to visit this wall. I'll show you a picture. Okay. So they ask, why is he scowling? Why are you looking like you're going to fight him? What is this? All right. So that wall is Hadrian's Wall. It was built by who? The Romans. And why'd they build it? Well, they decided they were going through all of Europe and Asia and just sort of taking over countries as they went. And they finally got to this area that was beautiful and green, and the sky was, bluish, grayish, and they had sheep and grass. Okay? And they're ready. This is ours. We own this now. And the people there went, yeah, no. And they went, I'm sorry. And these short little people, and some of them are blue. Okay. And they look wild, and some of them are naked, and yeah, we'll fight you. All right, so they have a couple of battles. Finally, the Romans decide, no, you're in, we're out, that's fine. This is where civilization ends. This is the wall. That's the wall we visited. Because his family is related to the Romans, and mine is related to the Scots. And that was the point of the picture. So that kind of thing. Then we've got the PowerPoint or whatever is going to be behind you so you can show the pictures for that and the video. For 15 more minutes, we talk about here's the assignments, here's the homework, here's what we're working on. Sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's creative projects, sometimes it's involved with a long-term project, especially big group work, and that continues. Then the individual and small group work that they have, we let them go do that. And for the last 10 minutes, you can work on that. You can work on other projects for this class. You can read. That's fine. It's kind of a cool down time. Then the lights flash and they all leave. And it's going to be all over the place, really. I tend to have two. There's the everyday, and then there's the days when there's a special project or something else that's happening. So it's still going to vary widely depending on your students and the grade. Whew. Safety. All right. That one's tough, especially now in schools because of a lot of reasons. All right. So one quick thing. When everyone's in class, you guys have the experience of if there's a fire or if something has happened, if there's a, earthquake or if there's, a tornado. What do? The alarm goes off, right? And everyone looks at it, but we can't hear the alarm. Some deaf kids can, some can't. And also, there's lights that flash, right? Which is great. But if it's an earthquake, beep, 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 beep. 1, 2, 3 goes the lights. If it's a hurricane, beep, 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 beep goes the alarm, and the lights still go 1, 2, 3. If someone is in the building and it means you have to stay because someone is coming in and trying to kill your students, Yeah, beep, 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 and the lights still flash 1, 2, 3. The lights don't change. And so that's really very scary for a lot of parents of deaf kids, but also for deaf staff and for deaf students themselves. All right, so there's that part. And when my students are in different classrooms, different schools, part of their IEPs, I've written in, hey, so first, we're going to practice what you're supposed to do. What if there is an emergency? What happens? And then I try to have a pre-warning written in about when there's going to be a drill. Because if they know this is going to be an earthquake drill, all right, that's what it'll look like. They can watch their peers, they can watch the lights, notice what people are doing, figure out, okay, my classroom does what? I can follow them and copy. It's great. And it helps them kind of bring down their anxiety. Second, both languages have to be used all at the same time for safety in a classroom where they're both getting used. You can't only sign, you can't only talk. Both languages need to be used. They must, especially if it's a drill where you're explaining all of it and you can emphasize it all. So you know what to do. We need to use both languages. There's no internet. I was talking about the classroom and we've got kids where they're filming themselves for homework, right? Yeah, those tablets that are in class are mine. And they've got profiles and accounts that the kids have that they can lock other students out of, and only I can see them so that I can be handed them and grade. If they're going to do work at home, we have password protected things. They can email me video files or they can show up and hand me whatever they're using. I have so many little USB file sticks that I just give to them and they can do homework and then they can bring them back and hand them to me. All right? Come back on Friday, whatever. The interpreter or a friend has to go with them if they're going out of the classroom. If it's not a deaf school, it means you end up in the hallway, and if something happens, what am I supposed to do? Who's telling me what? How? So we paired them up, buddies, for things like that. The only internet in the school is through those Chromebooks that the schools provide. And the kids have them, and they can use them, and there's a firewall that's been set up. So it blocks a lot of the inappropriate content. I let them know if you need information, fine, you can email me, but don't video any of the other stuff. And that brings us to the rules. The first one is respect for other people in the classroom. It doesn't mean you have to agree. It doesn't mean you have to be friends, but it does mean you have to respect each other. And no filming, no teasing, no whispering, no signing under the table, none of that. Just respect each other. Secondly, whoever's signing or talking, we're paying attention to them. If, it's individual work time, you can be working, chat with your friends, talk, fine. But no talking during a presentation from anybody. All the information from the teachers are given in spoken language and sign. The same as for staff and for para for the students. You can't just block out classmates of yours. And with a school that's mostly hearing kids, it means you have the interpreter and they go and they make sure that the deaf kids can see them. But it means not intentionally ignoring and leaving other students out. Also, for all the information, for homework, for assignments, it's provided in written and has a link where you can decide to watch the video because it's important. Hands stay where? To yourself. Don't touch each other except for, in deaf culture, the way that you get someone's attention is you can tap them on the shoulder. Totally fine. Lights, you can flick those too. For attention, that's fine. But don't go touching each other and slap fighting, please. Whoever's presenting in the classroom, there's one person, then another, then another. It's never, oh, I'm going to take all the time, but also you don't get to talk or sign over other people. It's impossible to focus that way. Lights tend to stay on unless we are watching a movie or there's something specific. Also, your feet stay on the floor, please. No jumping, no climbing on things. We don't need it. Focus on this here. And that brings us to the rules. The first one is respect for other people in the classroom. It doesn't mean you have to agree, it doesn't mean you have to be friends, but it does mean you have to respect each other. And no filming, no teasing, no whispering, no signing under the table, none of that. Just respect each other. Secondly, whoever's signing or talking, we're paying attention to them. If, it's individual work time, you can be working, chat with your friends, talk, fine. But no talking during a presentation from anybody. All the information from the teachers are given in spoken language and sign, the same as for staff and for para for the students. You can't just block out classmates of yours. And with a school that's mostly hearing kids, it means you have the interpreter and they go and they make sure that the deaf kids can see them. But it means not intentionally ignoring and leaving other students out. Also, for all the information, for homework, for assignments, it's provided in written and has a link where you can decide to watch the video because it's important. Hands stay where? To yourself. Don't touch each other, except for in deaf culture, the way that you get someone's attention is you can tap them on the shoulder. Totally fine. Lights, you can flick those too. For attention, that's fine. But don't go touching each other and slap fighting, please. Whoever's presenting in the classroom, there's one person, then another, then another. It's never, oh, I'm going to take all the time, but also you don't get to talk or sign over other people. It's impossible to focus that way. Lights tend to stay on unless we are watching a movie or there's something specific. Also, your feet stay on the floor, please. No jumping, no climbing on things. We don't need it. Focus on this here. Positive reinforcement. So that means the simple version is that it means you're looking at what the kids are doing. Good job. Congratulations. You're paying attention and you give them encouragement. Oh, what did you want? Right? And for some classes, it can mean stickers. For some students, that means candy. And I really actually do contact each and every set of parents and ask, like, is this okay? Is this okay? Do they have any allergies? And for some students, it means time. So, oh, your positivity reward for getting your homework done this week means what? Means, and it can depend. You can hang out here during your break. It can mean help with other homework. It can mean sitting and talking about your, favorite special interests or your topics or the books you're reading or whatever. And some students, especially kids who can't really communicate with their families, really, really want that kind of connection with an adult. And that's fine. It also means not doing you've done something wrong and you're punished. No, yes, criticize, but you're not blowing up on them. You're not lecturing. It's, oh, okay, so that doesn't seem like an amazing choice. Why is that what you picked? Okay. If you could do it again, what would you do differently? All right. And how does it feel? Like those sorts of things. Mostly in a deaf classroom, it's small. You maybe have, 10 kids instead of 25. But even with a class of 25, yeah, it can also work. It means, oh, okay, you're doing this, individual work, great. All right, what's wrong with over here? And often it can mean, okay, everybody's still working, great, get a staff person over here. You can pull this kid if you're in the middle of teaching. They can wait. You're done. All right, what's up? Like, what's going on right now? And if you're doing well in class or if they're doing well individually, it means, giving them praise, telling them they did a good job, paper grading. Whether it's an F or an A, it doesn't matter. It means, oh, this is what you did well. This is what I enjoyed. Oh, this was a good something. And yeah, you do the red pen as well. But it's important for them to know that you're not looking down on them. That was a waste of time. Like, why did you even bother? No, you want to encourage what they're doing because These kids really want that praise. They want that feedback. They want that positivity focused. And so who wants to know about, oh, okay. Oh, all right. Okay, so do you want to talk about this? Is this connected with the topic? No? All right. So it's a good idea, and I would love to talk about it later in that last 10 minutes. Can we do that? Awesome. You just hold on to it. Great. And then you can go on with your lesson. That means that there's no kids feeling ignored and the kids feel that they're connected to their